Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Let me begin by acknowledging our Budget Director, Susie Park, who's with me today. I'm happy to report that today's City Council session covered a variety of topics. We introduced our latest ordinance to reduce demolitions in certain neighborhoods, helping ensure that development does not destabilize and displace long-term residents and medium-income residents. In addition to that, we approved Nancy Andrade as the Commissioner of the Chicago Commission on Human Rights. We updated Chicago's public health policy apparatus by adding diversity requirements and streamlining the functions of the Chicago Board of Health. Introduced over $16 million in funding for improvements in Chicago parks. And importantly, we approved our $1 billion water partnership with the city of Joliet. Unfortunately, today's session didn't include taking an important step in addressing the many ongoing health and housing disparities exacerbated by COVID-19, which continue to bear down on Chicagoans. As a result of the actions by Alderman Burke and Lopez, we didn't get to approve a measure that delivers $377 million in federal funding for Chicago's ongoing COVID-19 responses. This would have included $179 million in new federal grants awarded to the Department of Public Health to support city's ongoing COVID-19 public health response, as well as $79.8 million in additional funding awarded to the Department of Housing for rental assistance. All this additional funding is a result of the coronavirus response and relief supplemental appropriation that was approved by Congress last year. In this city, our singular goal has to be to respond to the needs of our residents and businesses in ways that reflect their lived experiences. We truly need to be focused every single day on doing the people's business and things that move our city forward. Even as the light at the end of our tunnel grows brighter every day, thousands of Chicagoans, residents and businesses are still waking up each morning not knowing how they'll find the money to take care of their basic needs like rent. We were poised to address some of these issues today, but unfortunately, that step was paused because of a delay tactic by two aldermen. Make no mistake, come Friday, I'm very confident that we will get this done, but really that's not the point. In a time where people are hurting and bearing an inordinate burden, what we need is progress, not parliamentary tactics. Not with thousands of our residents still in desperate need of critical support that the city can provide through dollars that come to us from the federal government. The measure at play is an important one, and we need to get it done, and it's my hope that coming back on Friday afternoon will do just that. In the meantime, even though we've come a long way, we can't be distracted. We have to remain vigilant, creative, and bold in delivering the resources and supports our communities need. And that goes double for us as city leaders and elected officials. That is how we will move beyond this crisis as fast as possible and into recovery that is both historic in size but truly inclusive in scope. With that, I'm happy to take any questions that you have.
Hi, I'm Megan Hickey. I'm with CBS Chicago. I want to start with this hot mic issue. We had a couple of requests from our newsroom, from Cranes, and from Fran Spielman. You were heard on an open mic saying, "You've got to be effing kidding me," when Alderman Rosanna Rodriguez-Sanchez was wrapping up her remarks about the Black History Month resolution. What exactly were you referring to? And Fran points out it's not the first time that you've been caught on a hot mic.
Well, sorry to disappoint the Twitter trolls, but my comment had nothing to do with anything that was actually going on in City Council. I've explained that to Alderman Rodriguez, and she understands that.
Okay. Also from Fran Spielman with the Sun-Times, why did the decision by Burke and Lopez to defer and publish the vote on federal stimulus funds prompt you to adjourn the meeting and summon the council back at 3 p.m. on Friday? What is the urgency? Also, Alderman Burke has raised serious questions about the $281 million in police department spending. That's apparently why he joined Lopez in delaying the vote. He ridiculed you for calling those questions, quote, just dumb.
So, as we always do, we spend a significant amount of time making sure that aldermen are fully briefed on every matter that the administration is bringing forward. We did the exact same thing this time, led by Budget Director Susie Park. And my understanding is that Alderman Burke didn't take advantage of the opportunity to even attend a single one of those briefings. The issue was further explored during the Budget Committee, which my understanding is he tuned in for that, even though he's not a member. So there was ample opportunity to address whatever issues or concerns that Alderman Burke had. Even in addition to that, we provided him with very specific information, which my understanding is he's still having some difficulty comprehending. We need to get this work done. As I pointed out, there are valuable streams of money that are going to go to benefit everyday Chicagoans who have been struggling through this pandemic. So we need to get it done. So yes, we're coming back on Friday at 3:30 so we can get those monies into the hands of residents that need them the most.
Okay. This is from my colleague Chris Ty at CBS Chicago. The legislation introduced today as a result of the Anjanette Young raid proposed sweeping changes to how raids are conducted in Chicago. Do you support it? What is the most important component of it? And how likely is it to get the votes needed to become law?
Well, first of all, I don't know that it was actually formally introduced today. I think there was a press conference about it, but I just saw it today. As the aldermen know, there's a cadence in which you would need to introduce matters. But fundamentally, as I said back in December multiple times, and the superintendent of police said, we instituted new changes that went into effect regarding the search warrant policy. Those changes went into effect in January of 2020. So I directed Superintendent Brown, and he and his team have been working diligently on looking at other ways in which we can make the search warrant policy really best in class across the country. And it's unfortunate that, to my knowledge, none of those aldermen certainly didn't contact me or anybody on my team, and my understanding is they didn't contact anybody in leadership at the police department. Nonetheless, next week we will be revealing revised general order regarding search warrants.
Okay, so at this point you can't say whether or not you would support it?
Well, I haven't really had a chance to look at it because they didn't contact us ahead of time. We just got a copy of the ordinance. We'll certainly review it, but more to the point, the police department itself has been working diligently. And my quick read of the ordinance, it doesn't reference any of the current practices or procedures of the police department regarding search warrants, which I think is problematic in and of itself. But we'll take the time to review it. But as I said, for some months now, the department itself has been working on looking at its general order, which defines the time, place, and manner for search warrants, and we'll be announcing some updated changes to that in direct response to the issues that were surfaced as a result of what happened to Ms. Young.
Okay. This is from Adi Quigg at Cranes. We're getting close to final federal approvals of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Since it's a single-dose use, doesn't require ultra-cold storage, can you talk about how the city is thinking differently about deploying those to vaccine partners?
Well, obviously we've been following very closely the progress of Johnson & Johnson. I believe that it's going to be up for consideration by the FDA, I think this weekend. So once we understand what the FDA does, then we'll have further comment on that. But obviously, as I've been saying since December, we need more vaccine. This is a different kind of vaccine. It's a single dose, not multiple dose. We have to better understand its effectiveness with respect to the variants. Our local team of experts will be reviewing the information that's put out regarding Johnson & Johnson and giving us advice, just as they did with the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine. But we'll have more to say on it once we see what the final resolution is with the FDA.
Okay. Similar question from Jesse Kirsch, ABC7, but he wanted to know specifically how quickly and what impact do you expect that it would have on Chicago's vaccination effort?
Well, again, I can't really answer that until we understand whether or not the FDA approves it. Assuming that they do, news reports that I've seen suggest that there will be some time period before that vaccine is actually mass-produced and available to cities like Chicago. So it's really going to depend on first what the FDA does and then what the manufacturer tells us in terms of the availability of that vaccine.
Okay. let's see, we have Natalie Perez from Univision. According to Governor Pritzker, he expects in 2 weeks to increase the amount of vaccine the state receives per day from 60,000 to 100,000. Taking this into consideration, do you think it would be possible to expand the Phase 1B?
Well, the state doesn't provide us with any vaccine. So what Governor Pritzker says there really has little consequence to us. And I've been very clear with this, as has President Preckwinkle. Increasing, basically taking a group from 1C and putting them into 1B when we still haven't finished getting all the folks that are eligible for the vaccine in 1B just doesn't logistically make any sense for us. We're talking about, based upon what the governor announced a week or so ago, adding in Chicago and suburban Cook another 1 million people who would be eligible for vaccine. There's not another 1 million doses that are available and won't be anytime soon. So I don't want to create expectations that we simply can't fulfill, particularly when we still must focus on our elderly in the city, 65 and older, and there's a lot more work to do there. Chicago, goes without saying, is a very large city, the largest in the state. Suburban Cook is, if not the largest county by population, certainly one of the top ones. We have a different, not only in terms of size, but also a different demographic mix than other parts of the state. So a one-size-fits-all approach to this doesn't work because we are different than other parts of the state when it comes to the people in our city and our county that are most vulnerable and need to get the vaccine most urgently.
Okay. If I've got 3, is it okay if I just do the, I don't want to leave anybody out? Okay, I'll do it quickly. This is Bill Cameron, WLS. What do you think of the notion that the Chicago statues of Abe Lincoln and George Washington might be problematic?
Well, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I think what the Monuments and Murals Committee did was identify those statues and murals and other historical markers that are worthy of conversation. And I think they are worthy of conversation. But let's be clear, we're in the land of Lincoln, and that's not going to change.
Amy Jacobson from WIND. Since the CTU wouldn't go back into schools until the vaccination process began, how do you feel about the possibility of mandatory vaccinations for all Chicago public school teachers by next school year?
Well, I have to push back a little bit on the premise of the question. We have a very specific written agreement with the Chicago Teachers Union, and there were teachers, of course, that were in schools before they got vaccinated. I think the vaccination protocols that were developed as a result of those negotiations and the vaccination distribution pods that the CPS has stood up are going quite well. Of course, there are a number of teachers that had vaccines through private means, but I think it's important for us to offer the vaccine to the entirety of the CPS community, and that's precisely what we've done.
Okay. And then just lastly, I sent this to your press office, but Aaron Gettinger from the Hyde Park Herald asked that I ask you this specifically. In the last month, I've covered press conferences in person with the governor and Representative Bobby Rush. The White House holds daily press briefings in person with multiple reporters. Having to ask questions through a TV news reporter is biased against print and radio reporters, especially those on the City Hall beat. Why, when people can eat in restaurants, kids are in school, and you have been vaccinated, is this still a policy?
I'll turn that back on you all. I have been saying for quite some time now that I'm absolutely open to, and we can accommodate in another space, having in-person press conferences. I've asked the City Hall Press Corps multiple times now to come up with a specific plan and protocol and to get back to us. We haven't heard back yet. I know that there is not universal agreement that the media wants to all come back in person, but I stand ready whenever you all tell me you're ready to come back in person. Obviously, people are getting vaccinated. We can accommodate a large group in social distancing and other facilities. We're ready to do it, but I'm going to follow your lead. I'm not going to compel people to come to in-person press conferences if that's not the wish of the majority of the City Hall press corps. So I'm going to lob that ball back over the net to you all and tell you to talk amongst yourselves and talk to our press office. We are more than willing to conduct full in-person press conferences.
All right, I'm all done.
Thank you.